much for moderating the session. Fans.
Quantum computing is a radical new technology that could change how we tackle some of today's big challenges. As someone deeply involved in high-performance computing, I'm excited to lead Singapore's National Quantum Computing Hub, or NQCH, into its next phase as we push the boundaries of what's possible. Launched in 2022, NQCH was created to ensure Singapore is prepared in this critical field. In our first phase, we established a complete quantum computing ecosystem, covering hardware and simulation platforms to middleware and talent development. We are working with leading technology providers and industry pioneers in finance, in logistics, and the biomedical sciences, developing proof-of-concept solutions that showcase where quantum computing can have real-world impact. Now, as we enter the next phase, our focus is clear: to advance hybrid quantum classical computing, to drive real-world applications through proof-of-concepts, and to foster quantum talent to support industry adoption. A key part of our strategy is Kibo, a full-stack open-source quantum computing operating system that empowers researchers to deploy quantum-powered applications quickly and efficiently. Singapore's strength in computational biology and its rich health datasets provide a strong foundation for exploring how quantum computing can model complex biological systems, unlocking new frontiers in drug discovery and personalized medicine. The Monetary Authority of Singapore, recognizing the transformative potential of quantum computing in the financial services, has established a dedicated program to address real-world challenges, ensuring Singapore remains at the forefront of financial innovation. As a global trade hub and home to one of the world's largest ports, the ships that surround our shores and the vast stacks of shipping containers are not just symbols of commerce, but opportunities to optimize logistics through quantum-powered solutions. These are strategic areas, highly relevant for Singapore and beyond. But we remain flexible and ready to explore new directions as promising opportunities emerge. As quantum technology gains traction, companies will need to upskill their teams and attract quantum talent. At NQCH, we are committed to building this ecosystem through initiatives like Q-Talent, an accessible online platform offering courses for learners at all levels, and workshops tailored for companies looking to learn quantum computing. Quantum computers will not replace supercomputers. Instead, their true potential lies in working together. With compute infrastructure from the National Supercomputing Centre, Singapore, we are benchmarking hybrid solutions against the best classical alternatives and exploring their impact for the industry. To bring this vision to life, the Hybrid Quantum Classical Computing Initiative, launched in 2025, will integrate quantum and classical computing resources supported by enabling middleware. The National Quantum Computing Hub began as a proof of concept, a bold step towards building Singapore's quantum ecosystem. Now, with a strong foundation and a growing network of industry and research partners, we are driving the momentum needed to position Singapore at the forefront of quantum software and applications.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Beyond Stage. I want to invite you to come and join me right in front where the VIPs are always seated. So ladies and gentlemen, we are about to begin with a brand new session. And if you're joining us from outside, please make your way into the Beyond Stage right now. Now, ladies and gentlemen, starting today, we heard from Dr. Rush, we heard about hardware, we talked about algorithms, and right now, we're going to talk about why quantum must now be part of your innovation strategy. So this is brought to you by NQO and NQCH. I'd like to introduce our next speakers to come on stage very soon. We'll be kicking off with Ms. Alexandra Beckstein, CEO of Kai Ventures. She will be opening the sessions and then joined by Thomas Landis, right next to her right now, Managing Director at Kai Ventures, and also joined by our newly minted champions. Over the weekend, we're going to welcome our winning startup, Quantum Kitties. I love that name. And they're also from Kai Quantum Hackathon World Series. We're going to welcome later on Mr. Siddharth Dutta and Ms. Pavna Current to share their solution. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me to put our hands together for our first speaker. Please welcome on stage right now, Ms. Alexandra Beckstein. Welcome.
Welcome, everyone. I'm not sure if we are supposed to see a movie first because you listen to me.
Quantum is actually a very nascent industry. There are people building quantum hardware, building the software stack, application stack, but most importantly, we need to build the ecosystem to grow the workforce.
Hackathon is a very powerful way to bring together talents to actually work on real-life problem statements.
Capturing up this kind of new technology and convert it to the customer value and operate as a new service operations, that will be very important for us.
The energy and the vibe, the curiosity of all the participants, the fact that they were just going above and beyond what was asked of them, that synergy with the mentors, I just love that it was a melting pot. It was like a breeding ground of ideas.
We won the challenge and everything. We kind of gotten confidence over the fact that the idea is actually like very feasible and actually impactful in the actual industry.
The highlights of this hackathon was interesting approach for actually two of the challenges where students they try to apply new algorithms to solve their problems, and I really liked it.
When you go outside for the hackathons, there's a pressure that you need to give your best, even when you're just a beginner. And I think that was completely off my shoulders during this hackathon because of the hackathon organizers as well as my partner.
So welcome everybody again. What you just saw is a sneak into what we are doing at Kai Ventures. Kai Ventures is a global ecosystem builder in quantum technology and quantum AI. That means we are helping to scale early technology from laboratories of the university to startups and into growth and bringing it into the industry. Kai Ventures came to stay. We set up offices. We launched our office officially today in Singapore. We are proud that we were also mentioned on the main stage by the Deputy Prime Minister as a major ecosystem player in the quantum field that would like to have impact now together with you. We are building new technologies around startups. That means we invest into those startups and we also build them. In the next 2 years, Kai Ventures will have built 7 companies around IP that is developed in the local universities, and we will have also accelerated a same amount of companies here. We do this with the backing of Enterprise Singapore. Without them, we could not have scaled so fast to come here. So thank you again so much also to our partners of Enterprise Singapore. Why Singapore? At Kai Ventures, we are located, or our headquarters is in Switzerland, in Basel. And we decided to come to Singapore because we come where quantum technology is happening. When we choose to enter an ecosystem, then we are also looking at the universities. Is there university courses, good research in quantum technology? We are looking for early adopters in the industry. We need these early adopters to engage with startups, to have first use cases with startups, to be the first customer of startups. Quantum technology is a nascent technology, but it already came out of the lab and is now looking for a way into the industry. We're also looking for support from the government, not us, but we are looking for if the government is supporting quantum technology with building up infrastructure. And Singapore has invested 300 million Singaporean dollars into the deployment of a quantum strategy. This shows commitment, and this also gives security to companies who build up here, that the government is committed to stay with their strategy, to stay with the companies setting up here. The 300 million, maybe also to mention, it's not the first approach that Singapore is taking. Singapore is one of the earliest adopters also as a country in quantum technology. The 300 follow a 400 million investment that went into research and in building up of startups, which results in that we already have more than 10 quantum startups in Singapore, which is a lot. We don't do this alone. When we say we are an ecosystem builder, that means we are looking for ecosystems for players that already exist, and we are connecting the dots to leverage everyone. What you see here, it's just a start. What you see here is the partners of the hackathon, which I showed you. These partners allowed us, or the hackathon allowed us to engage very early already in the ecosystem. So we invited global and local ecosystem players in the quantum field to engage with us. Universities brought mentors. We invited experts in the field from companies. We also invited companies to hand in their real-world use cases. And we also had the possibility to engage with providers, with hardware providers. All this is not only important in a hackathon, it's important to build up an ecosystem. That's what we do. We only connect what Singapore already has. We are, with what we're doing, the only ecosystem stakeholder in the quantum industry that integrates tools and resources like a fund. We're running a fund. We are having access, or we're building an IP database. We run accelerator programs. We run venture building programs. This is the tools that we have, our toolkit, and we connect it and integrate it into the users of quantum technology and the builders like academia, industries, and startups. Now it doesn't work. The value is created when you connect the technology with the industry. We develop alongside the industry. Quantum technology is an early technology, and we always say we have to develop the technology alongside the industry. We focus on integrating the technology of young companies into the industry that will be changed very soon by the integration of quantum technology. That is finance industry, industrials like energy and new materials, life science, and above all, cybersecurity, very important. We see, when we look at the investment landscape, this is our investment engagement. So we did 27 investments into startups globally, quantum startups, which makes us to the most active investor in the quantum field. And I think it's also interesting to mention that we invest global. There is a lot of local investors out there. We believe in a global game. We believe that we have to back founders all over the world to build up the quantum stack. And I also find it interesting that 3 years ago, we could see that there was much more private investor than public investments. It changed 2 years ago, so now we see more governments, more public money being invested into companies, quantum technology companies, and private money. And since last year, I think that's also very interesting to mention. We see a shift in how this public money is invested. It's not invested anymore in single founders or single companies. It's invested in ecosystems. When the government talks about an ecosystem, it's mostly that it builds around the research institutes, buys a quantum computer. That happened also in Singapore, and then brings together the users of this technology, bringing IP to the country. And that's exactly what Kai Ventures is doing. So that's our toolbox, and we are opening it now to Singapore, hoping to add value to the ecosystem. And I'm very happy to invite my colleague Thomas on stage. He's the managing director of the Singaporean office. We run an office with 4 people. Welcome, Thomas. And he will explain there's so much needed corporates that we need in the ecosystem, why quantum must be a strategy in your innovation strategy already. Don't wait. It could be already too late because your competitors are moving fast. Thank you so much, Thomas.
Thank you. Oh,
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. All right. So welcome, everyone. Thank you, Alexandra, for the intro. So maybe let me introduce myself. I'm Thomas. I'm the managing director of the Kai Ventures Singapore office. So meaning this is my first day in office since we launched today. What I would like to talk about is actually what my superpower is. I'm a corporate innovation guy. So meaning I know that corporates need to collaborate with startups, and I also know they can't. And I want to try to explain you why you should put quantum on your innovation roadmap now. So I want to tell you the key message right away. Then you can leave, have a coffee, or you can stay until the end. But quantum isn't the future. It's already here, and it will decide who will lead the next techno revolution, and that's very important that you as a corporate are getting prepared to it. So meaning in the next 10 to 15 years, if the financial sector, the healthcare industry, energy, cybersecurity, they all will be touched by quantum from our perspective. And companies that act early or now, they will not only protect their competitive edge, they will also shape the new infrastructure of trust, intelligence, performance in the digital economy. So we see it every day. Those innovative companies who actually act early, they can actually be part of the change and of the future. So I'm sure you heard about the Q-Day during that conference. The Q-Day is the moment when quantum computers become powerful enough to break today's encryption. So meaning it will be the backbone of our digital trust once this is broken. So meaning it's not a question of if, from our perspective, it's a question of when this Q-Day will happen. Depends who you talk to. Most of the experts say between 2030, 2040, this will happen, and such encryption standards like RSA will be simply decrypted. So that might sound very far away from today, but in infrastructure terms, it is tomorrow. And if you start preparing after Q-Day, you are already too late. So the companies that are taking it really, really serious today, they are not doing it because of fear. They are mainly doing it because they're seeing a chance of shining in a different kind of market. So let me have quickly a market outlook. So if you look at governments, I mean, they're spending roughly $4 to $5 billion US every year on quantum research, and they will do this for the next decade. On the venture capital side, we also see that they are following this trend. So more than $2.5 billion have already gone into quantum startups, most of that in 2022. So the biggest innovators are now getting ready for the quantum decade. And maybe you ask yourself, why is that? Because if we look back in history, every major technology transition from steam to silicon, from digital to AI, has always created new billion-dollar industries. And quantum will be no different from my point of view. So we are now witnessing the early phases of infrastructure build-up. Nations want to secure the digital sovereignty. Corporations want to secure the intellectual property. And the question is no longer whether this market will happen, it's who will own it. So if we analyzing technology maturity curves, we see many trends have a medium to a large impact of what's happening in the future. But many of those trends have not reached yet maturity. Quantum computer and quantum security are at exactly this point. That means they are still early enough to explore, but close enough to create first mover advantages. What this tells us is that leaders need to think ahead of the curve. They can't wait for the perfect technology regulation. They need to act while others are still watching and exploring. The window of strategic position is open, but it won't be forever. So what is funny, if we think about the future, we always realize that we misjudge time periods. Maybe you know itself. If you have children, 20 years, whoops, suddenly your children are grow, passes very, very quickly. So just to remind you, there was no ChatGPT 20 years ago. Twitter was a sound or a letter, if you call it X, and the cloud was in the sky. But if you try to look with those people 20 years in the future, this is pure science fiction. But it's very important that you as a corporate are starting thinking in 20, 10 years in the future, and what does this mean to your business? And let me explain you why this matters. Have you ever heard the term of a tipping point? A trend is at a tipping point. I mean, trends are at a tipping point, and let me explain you this very simple with popcorn, okay? If you're trying to cook popcorn, you put oil in a pan, you turn it on the oven, nothing happens from the outside. But the innovation manager, he understands the pot is getting warm. And the corn in the pot starts to get warmer and warmer, and once it has reached, I think, 160 degrees Celsius, it starts with a little pop. And what happens then? Exponential development, and the pot is full. And this is a tipping point. And we believe that the pot is hot at the moment, and you should start understanding that once that tipping point is reached, you have missed a trend. So there's a saying in Silicon Valley, if a trend becomes obvious, you're too late. So if the taxi driver talks to you about quantum, probably you missed it. So, but we all understand we cannot predict the future, but I'm very sure we can shape it. What defines leaders? What defines leaders is not their ability to foresee every trend, it's their willingness to engage with uncertainty and to turn curiosity into a strategy. Quantum innovation is not about betting on a hype, it's about creating optionality, the ability to act when opportunities arise. So we believe in shaping that future, you need to do this together. So meaning you need to connect with startups, investors, corporates, and turn quantum potential into a tangible business value. Let me explain you the so-called vision cone. To visualize future, this is an instrument you can use. This is a map of possible futures stretching down 10 to 25 years ago. At the narrow end, we have today's challenges. Maybe you know this from your corporate. Today's challenges are very often cost pressure, competition. We're talking about red ocean markets. Everyone fights for margins. And at the wider end, we have possibilities. The blue ocean, so-called, opportunities that appear when we explore new technologies and business models before others do. Every organization must decide where it wants to play. Do they want to stay in the present, compete on margins with competitors, talk about price, or do they want to move into future and compete on vision? This is called scenario thinking. Building pictures of the future is not a luxury anymore from my point of view. It is a leadership tool. And to show you this, let me show you this. So I want you to introduce you to a fictitious scenario. This is a bank we have created just on our imagination. We call it a helium bank. And so let's fast forward to the year 2035. Imagine a bank called Helium Bank. It's a universal financial institute that decided back in 2028 to move entirely to a quantum-based infrastructure. So they didn't wait for others to prove that it worked. They built their own quantum finance stack, quantum secure data exchange, quantum-inspired risk models, and exclusive access to quantum processing units. And within a few years, Helium became a market leader, not because of size, but because of capability. Our fiction and bank, Helium, in this picture of the future, symbolize what happens when technology, timing, and vision align. So this story isn't just made up. or we made it up, and we polarized with this versus talking to banks. So we showed them this picture of the future and asked them, what if? What if? And we brought those learnings together in a white paper, which we launched shortly before the ThinkTech Fintech Festival. So let me share some key findings we had in that white paper we created. So let me share 3 key findings that every corporate leader should understand with you out of this white paper. So first of all, talent is the #1 bottleneck in the future. So quantum talent will be the #1 bottleneck. The second learning we had, timing decides who gets ahead. And third, quantum capabilities will define the next wave of competitiveness. Let me unpack these insights one by one a little bit more. So talent will be the bottleneck #1. Quantum technology is not just about machine, it's about minds, it's about people. Globally, did you know that there are only 2,000 to 3,000 graduated students with a master's or PhD in quantum physics or quantum engineering? That's it, 2,000 to 3,000. And the competition for this talent will be huge. Finance, pharma, logistics, energy, government, all are already hiring from the same pool. And the winning institutions will be, from my point of view, those who are investing early in building up partnerships with universities, funding research, creating hybrid models that connect physics with business. Success in quantum age is based on a simple rule: trust, people, and technology, in that order. Trust, people, technology. So, the other finding is timing determines advantage. Innovation has always rewarded to those who move early. Early movers define protocols, the security standard, the benchmarks, and late adopters, they are forced to follow that, often at a much higher cost. Timing isn't just a project plan, it is a strategic weapon, believe me that. And the third finding is quantum capabilities create competitive advantage. Now, what do we mean by quantum capabilities? They fall into 2 categories, speed and security. Speed means faster, more accurate simulations, maybe in risk modeling, maybe in the far future in portfolio optimization, or today, almost already in fraud detection. Security means quantum resistance encryption and communication that cannot be hacked, not even theoretically. And together, they redefine how financial institutions operate. Faster insight, unbreakable trust. And we also believe that quantum and AI are not competitors. They are accelerators of each other. Quantum machine learning could analyze patterns that classical AI couldn't detect. For instance, so meaning here I'm talking about for ultra-rare fraud signals hidden in billions of transactions, or imagine detecting anomalies in seconds with a confidence level beyond today's capabilities. This is not science fiction, it was already prototyped. So meaning this is where financial security and customers' trust will be won in the future and will be lost if you are unable to do that. So quantum will boost your risk modeling. We very much believe in that. Think of Monte Carlo simulation on steroids. The core of risk and pricing model. With quantum amplitude estimations, the same calculations we do today, which take maybe about 16 hours, could take maybe 4 hours or even less. That means we can simulate in the future more scenarios, respond faster to market shocks, and optimize capital in real time. In finance, speed times accuracy equals to profitability. So meaning if you as a bank in the future are unable to do that, you will lose a lot of profit very, very quick. What we also learned talking to banks, that the banks are very good in defense strategy. So all the banks have already prepared for the quantum Q-Day. So quantum security I'm not worried about. But what is very important, that you must understand that security is the foundation of everything we do nowadays. As soon as there's a computer included, if you're not secure, you will have a big problem. So every digital transaction today depends on the cryptographic that quantum computers will soon be able to break. Post-quantum cryptography and quantum key distribution are not optional upgrades. They are survival strategies. Some banks I saw use quantum secure fiber connections already between cities like Vienna and Frankfurt. I mean, this is covering more than 1,000 kilometers over 2 countries, and those cannot be listened on. Those who started early are now compliant already and trusted, and those who waited are catching up now on the pressure and already fighting for the talents who could actually develop it. So, strategic roadmap. So how can corporates prepare? So we identified actually 3 key pillars for success. First, build in-house quantum talent. And I'm not talking here about armies of physicists, but hybrid professionals who can bridge science and business. Second, engage with startups. They move fast, they test early, they fail fast, they bring fresh IP to your table, talk to them, work with them. And third, connect to ecosystems, universities, accelerate investors. Quantum progress happens in collaboration, not in isolation, I tell you. So what corporates should do? When we summarize all interviews and case studies we have done in the past few meetings, we see one clear message. Quantum readiness starts today. You don't need a quantum lab. You don't need a quantum army. What you need is a quantum mindset, meaning a willingness to experiment, to learn, and to build capabilities step by step. Let's look what that means in practice. Let's look at the vision cone again, and we see where companies act today. At the narrow end again, they focus on efficiency and short-term returns. At the wide end, they explore innovation and work on long-term relevance. Quantum clearly sits in that wide end. The challenge for leaders to invest in explorations while still running today's business is effectively. And being able to do both, meaning working on the daily business, but on the other hand also working on the future, if you're able to do that, that makes your company very innovative and very, very strong. So, how to get there? Number 1, accept uncertainty and start creating space for experimentation. So what does this mean? In a world of moving fast, waiting for perfect information is the biggest risk you maybe can have, or waiting for the perfect solution. Leaders who create sandboxes, safe spaces to test new technologies without pressure of immediate return of investment learn faster than their competitors. And innovation is not about knowing the answer, it's about learning faster than the others. The second learning we had, or we can give you home, is actually your management must understand quantum. So upskill your leadership. Quantum is not a topic just for the IT department. It is a boardroom conversation. It must be a boardroom conversation. Executives do not need to code algorithms, but they must understand what is at stake when encryption fails, when computing power leaps, and when new business models emerge. An informed leadership team is still the best risk management your company can have. Number 3, start collaborating with startups and universities. Open innovation is not a slogan. It's the only way to keep pace with exponential technology. Startups and universities bring agility, they bring creativity, they bring even early access to IP to the table. Join pilots, hackathons, accelerators programs that create a living laboratories where corporates learn by doing. And that's actually what we are trying to do at KaiWedgets and bring this now to Singapore. And last but not least, maybe the most important thing you should do now, maybe already too late of October, ring-fence budget for next year. Ring-fence budget. And I'm not talking only about money, I'm talking about resources. You need people who start thinking quantum in your company. What does quantum mean to my business models? So, meaning smart companies set aside a budget for quantum education, for pilots, for tests, starting in 2025. They see it as a long-term investment, not as an extra spending. Keep this money separate, make sure to work continuous, because innovation stops once it competes with quarterly goals. Quantum readiness is about steady learning, not about quick headlines. That's very important. So let me summarize this, what corporates should do. Accept uncertainty and experiment. Number 2, upskill your leadership, probably the most important. Collaborate with startups and universities, and ring-fence budget and resources from next year onwards. And most important, key is to start. All right, maybe let me explain you how to get started. I know budget is always tight. Your team or your corporate team probably has enough to do with AI already, but let me help you on that. Maybe you can join an ecosystem, surround your team with innovators, researchers, entrepreneurs who live and breathe quantum. Innovation is contagious. That's actually nice. Once a company experiences it, learning speeds up naturally. That is actually where Kai Ventures comes in. We're providing this structure, these partners, this global platform, and make that journey actually real. And let me quickly explain our ecosystem. I mean, this ecosystem covers all full innovation lifecycle, from idea to product to market to scale. We run accelerated programs, we run venture building programs, we have hackathons, bootcamps, invest. So meaning we are trying to get this talent ready for your use cases, and we invest early in them. In Singapore, we will focus on building Asia's leading quantum AI hub. This means connecting universities, startups, corporates, and investors on an active community all together. And we started here in Singapore last weekend with a 48-hour hackathon, where passionate innovators rapidly prototype new ideas. I mean, it was very fast and very messy, but highly creative, exactly that kind of environment where breakthroughs might happen. And I'm very happy that later in this speech, I have actually the winner of the Global Hackathon, and they can show you what they have done in just 48 hours. So we had this GenQ Hackathon World Series. We did a hackathon on quantum for energy in Calgary in the beginning of October. We did a hackathon in Geneva at CERN regarding quantum for life science. And we did it this weekend in Singapore with the focus on finance. So we brought and invited 383 talents from around the world to tackle real-world challenges in finance, energy, and life science. We apply in quantum computing and AI to problems that really, really matters. It was more than just a competition. It was a global movement, a way to connect the brightest minds across continents and industries. And this is where we create quantum talents. So we created 383 talents, which we worked together in 60 teams. They developed 60 prototypes globally on 10 quantum use cases from the industry. And this in just 3 times 48 hours. Each team pushed the boundaries of what was possible with quantum simulators, APIs available at the time. And they proved that quantum wasn't an abstract theory anymore. It was an emerging toolset for real-world impact. And here in Singapore, we hosted the Quantum for Finance Challenge, focused on 3 topics, which are, from our point of view, the most relevant for the banks in the near future: counterparty risk, fraud detection, and maybe more down the line, portfolio optimization. We invited 168 participants from all over Asia and beyond, from Malaysia to India, from Sweden to Canada. And they have created 24 prototypes in just 48 hours on topics relevant for the industry, for the finance industry in Singapore. And I'm very, very happy to introduce you to the golden ticket winners, that team that has the best embodied the spirit of innovation, collaboration, and quantum excellence. I'm very, very happy to introduce you to the team Quantum Kiddies. They won the prize over all 3 hackathons we had. Please welcome with me Pavana and Siddhant from Quantum Kiddies, and see what young talents can do if you give them access to hardware, a little bit of food, a lot of coaching, and not so much sleep, and a challenge to work on. Please, the stage is yours. Who wants the clicker?
Thank you, Thomas. So you guys can see some of the stats that we have put over the slide. To highlight one of such statistics, in 2024 alone, the losses due to credit card frauds were over $28 million. So we know how important this is. What exactly is the issue with current fraud detection systems? Let's see them once. The first one being with advancements in the technologies, there's always more new ways in the frauds that keep happening. So we need a solution that's more adaptable, right? Then the second one being this massive amount of transactions that's supposed to be processed when there is only like very few amount of data related to the frauds out of the massive transactions. So we need to be able to pick up very few data that is there out of all of those transactions, right? And the third one being, it's very unsustainable, like the current methods that we have on both technical as well as business ends. So we need a solution that is sustainable, meaning we need something that will use less computationally intensive resources, right? And the last one being, right now we process transactions in an isolated way, one by one. We need something that will create the global picture for us to be able to pick up the financial frauds that's happening in the patrons. So that's exactly what our ideal solution is, something that is adapting, that is more sustainable, using less computational resources, and provides us with a global picture of all the frauds that are happening. Let's look at them. So I'm Pavna P. Karant. I'm an undergraduate student from India.
I am Siddhant. I am a PhD student right now at NTU Singapore. Very nice to meet everyone here.
And our solution is post-hoc credit card fraud detection using the interpretable quantum neural graph networks. To understand what kind of data that we dealt with, there were anonymized credit card transactions. And noteworthy thing is, there were only 0.17% of frauds out of the massive data that was given to us. So this was our challenge.
So as you can see over here, as there is only just about 0.17%, which is about like just around 400 to 500 transactions that are fraud, the amount of each fraud, the amount of money that is lost is massive. So every fraud that you pick matters. Henceforth, in order to understand it much better and to assess the finance forensic workers, regardless of what solution you make, is very important. Henceforth, we are trying to make a solution which is interpretable, which is able to give us a global picture, which is able to give us an idea about the entire thing. Hence, we use something called as topological data analysis. What does that do? Do you see this very nice, cool graph? I know that it's so cool, so many different colors. But if we concentrate upon the left bottom area of it, there are some very small disconnected islands of just small graphs. What are those? Those are where the fraudsters lurk around. What are those? Those are the lurking around fraudsters that we are trying to find. As you can see, the main normal transactions that occur in this world follow in this normal graphical structure. Whereas the fraudsters, they lurk around and they are disconnected and they are very much outside this normal way of like how transactions work out to be. And we are able to see this so clearly via the help of graphs. And this is the power of topological data analysis. But my question is this. What if you can use quantum computing and quantum representational capability to basically learn this entire dynamics of the graph? And that is what we did. We basically created a classical benchmark, which is a graph neural network. And we also had a quantum graph neural network, which basically is an ansatz containing all the information from the topological data analysis-based Reeb manifold. And we process this and pass it through the circuit. This quantum circuit learns through the dynamics of this graph. And it's able to figure out, hey, these small islands are looking very suspicious. Henceforth, they have a highly likelihood of being fraudsters. In comparison, as you can see, the classical results are ranging from certain values of variation, whereas the quantum results are giving much higher representations and much better performance, where the F1 score is very much higher, telling us that the false positives are very much lesser, which is basically what we are trying to achieve, making sure that the finance forensic workers, who eventually will be the ones who are trying to figure out, hey, is this a fraud or not, will have a lesser bottleneck of processing through transactions because we are clearing the false positives out, and we are making sure that it's interpretable and easy to use. Henceforth, we make an API-based solution which gives them an API-based dashboard. In accordance with that, there is something called as a transaction-based network, where you are able to see the graphical structure and the entire system as a dashboard. Henceforth, the users can just use this dashboard and basically get email-based notifications in order to figure out, hey, there are some frauds going on, so check it out.
And when we do a comparison to the current methods that exist in the real world and what we are proposing, we see that our solution in specific is much more sustainable in nature, is much more providing us with higher accuracy and using less computational resources compared to all the systems that are there today, right? And one more thing to notice, it's highly interpretable. We are not getting any black box results. We are getting highly interpretable, explainable results. So that's what our selling point is. Coming to the business model, we want to pitch this as a B2B business model where we are providing API as a service. And depending on what banks are our customers, it could be DBA, DBS, or it could be Maribank. Depending on the volume of transactions that they're handling, the pricing could vary. And overall, we don't want this to just be a business product. We want this to be aligned with the entire ecosystem. We want this to be oriented with the SDG goals, which is why we are focusing more on SDG 8 and SDG 13, because one, computationally less resources, matlab we have a good impact on climate, and less fraud, more money in economy, SDG 8 impact. Thank you. So that's a wrap. We are Quantum Kitties.
Thank you.
Thank you, Quantum Kitties, and a big thank you to our first speaker as well, Thomas and Alexandra. Congrats on your first day in office. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got one more panel to go.
Quantum computing